Hi, I'm Matt Pearson, and welcome to the faculty office hours for linguistics. It's essentially the scientific study of human language, right? So we look at questions like how does language arise in the individual? How is language structured in the mind? And how is language sort of used to create social relationships? Questions of that sort. In our department, the areas that we tend to focus on include syntax, which has to do with sort of looking at patterns of sentence structure, semantics and morphology, which deal kind of with word structure and with meaning. Those are sort of the areas of the department that I cover. And then my colleagues, who I'll talk about in a minute, cover areas like phonetics and phonology, which sort of deals with studying and measuring the sounds of the world's languages. Also, sociolinguistics. So those are kind of the areas that we tend to focus on in our department. So a little bit about me. I'm a syntactician, so my main focus is on sentence structure, looking at sentence structure. Some people who work on syntax, there are particular phenomena that they're interested in, and they kind of look at a bunch of different languages to study that phenomenon. Other syntacticians are interested in a particular language or a language family, and they might study lots of different phenomena within that language or language family, and I'm kind of in the latter camp. So I work on a language called Malagasy. I don't know if any of you have heard of Malagasy or if you know where it's spoken. This is the language that's spoken on the island of Madagascar off the east coast of Africa. I'm interested mostly in things like word order. Malagasy has some unusual word orders that are very different from other languages that you might be more familiar with, and certain phenomena related to how verbs work in the language and how questions are formed in the language, and a few other things like that. I tend to do my work using what's called an elicitation method, which means that I sit down with people who are native speakers of Malagasy. They grew up speaking the language, they use it on a daily basis, and I sort of ask them questions about the language. I construct sort of hypothetical sentences of Malagasy and ask them to judge, do these sentences sound grammatical to you? Do they sound ungrammatical? And I kind of look for patterns in the data and then try and come up with theories to explain those patterns. The courses that I offer at Reed focus primarily on issues related to sentence structure. So I teach our introductory and advanced syntax classes. I teach a class with a very fancy name, morphosyntactic typology, which is really just a class that talks about sort of the grammars of the world's languages and kind of how diverse languages are, and also looking at language universals. And then I also teach courses on morphology, which deals with word structure, semantics, and I co-teach our introductory course and also our field methods course, which is a course which is kind of a lab practical course where you get to work one-on-one with a speaker of a language that you don't know anything about to do this kind of elicitation work that I was talking about. One of my colleagues is named Kara Becker, and she is our sociolinguist. Her training is in what is called dialectology. So she's interested in particular in dialects of American English. She wrote her dissertation about the variety of English that's spoken in New York City, and sort of looking at how people kind of make use of their New York City dialect to achieve particular kinds of social effects. And she's also worked a lot on African American varieties of English as well. Essentially, anything to do with sort of language as a social thing, language as sort of something that informs us as members of societies or members of social groups. Kara kind of covers classes that have to do with that. My other colleague is named Samir Udola Khan, and he is our phonetics phonology person, right? So we have a rather nice phonetics lab in our department that has a soundproof booth where people can make high quality recordings and various kinds of equipment for measuring what's going on in people's mouths and throats when they're producing different kinds of sounds. And Samir runs that lab and teaches courses related to phonetics. And he also teaches sort of more theoretically oriented courses about phonology. So sort of looking at what it is that we know about the sounds of our languages and how we can study that knowledge. The linguistics major requires that you have actually two foreign languages. One foreign language at the second year college proficiency level, and a second language at the first year college proficiency level. Some of our students come to Reed having already taken foreign language in high school, or they may have even taken college foreign language classes, or they may have done a study abroad as part of their high school experience. So they might come in actually knowing a fair bit of a particular foreign language, in which case they can meet some of our requirement by doing a placement exam. But we certainly don't require anybody to have to know another language already as part of our major. But knowing a language, being fluent in another language is not really it's not really a necessary part of linguistics. As a linguist, I don't speak any languages other than English fluently. Being a fluent speaker of another language it's a useful skill to have for a linguist, but it's not a necessary skill. Our discipline is really more about understanding what is in the minds of speakers that allows them to speak and understand languages. Every linguistics major is also expected to take a minimum of 4 courses in some other discipline that's offered at Reed that they can become sort of a secondary expert in. The idea is that linguistics, the study of human language, we feel is inherently interdisciplinary. That is to say, it draws in ideas, it draws in methodologies, it draws in theoretical traditions from all sorts of different fields, whether it be mathematics, logic, psychology, biology, sociology, anthropology, history, literature and language. We kind of pull in ideas from all of these different disciplines. So we want our linguistics majors to have the opportunity to take multiple courses in some discipline as well as just linguistics. This other thesis that I'm advising this year is about a particular kind of construction that occurs in colloquial English, but not really in formal English, where people use, in if clauses, people use extra haves. So instead of saying, if I had gone to the store, I would have picked up some milk, they'll say things like, if I had have gone to the store, with an extra have in there. If I had have gone to the store, which is something that, you're not supposed to write in a formal essay, but people produce that extra have when they talk all the time. And this particular thesis student is trying to understand the semantics of that. So when do people say, if I had gone to the store versus if I had have gone to the store? Or if I had have gone to the store versus if I would have gone to the store? And sort of trying to construct a formal theory to explain some of the differences in meaning between these different kinds of if clauses. And we also have a really good computer science program here as well. So students who come to Reed can't study computational linguistics, unfortunately, but they can study linguistics and they can study computer science kind of in parallel with one another, and then use those 2 sets of skills to go in various directions in the tech field. So linguists are in high demand in tech field for things like artificial intelligence research, or sort of teaching computers to produce and understand human language better.